So I figured I would get caught up on the latest iPhone news and go on YouTube and watch some of my favorite creators give me all the scuttlebutt on the new iPhone 15 Pro series, Pro Max, regular, Ultra, Plus, and whatever else Apple has cooked up. But of course, none of them made videos. So instead, I'm going to watch Greg from Greg's Gadgets. That'll have to do. Some of you know that Greg and I used to have a podcast together, had a lot of fun, and some of you have been asking when GadgetCast is coming back. I don't know. But this is pretty close. I'm going to watch this video. We're going to figure out what's going on with the iPhone 15, and I'll give my impressions about what he's saying.
After watching this video, you're going to know every single detail about the iPhone 15 and iPhone 15 Pro, and what you need to know to make sure you can order one on day one without facing potential weeks of delays and supply chain mishaps.
Now, I love Greg. He's one of my good friends, and I really appreciate him quite a bit, but I don't like his haircut. He needs to get his haircut.
All right, so for this video, I am going over what to expect for the complete iPhone 15 lineup, including the exact models, the sizes, the prices, the release date, and even the exact colors for each model. I'm also going to tell you some things that you need to know about the switch over to the new USB-C port, and some camera details that you might have not really picked up on that may have you picking the more expensive iPhone over the less expensive one.
Awkward Greg aside, I think the USB-C obviously is the biggest thing that's happening this year on the iPhone. And of course, they're always going to make the camera a little bit better. But quite frankly, I think USB-C is actually going to be more of a hindrance to the larger Apple crowd.
There's going to be 4 iPhones this year, kind of like last year, with the iPhone 15 coming with a 6.1-inch OLED display, and then the bigger iPhone 15 Plus, similar to the 14 Plus, coming with a 6.7-inch display. Both complete, though, with the dynamic island cutout from last year's iPhone 14 Pro.
Okay, a couple of things. First of all, I like the little cutout. That's actually the reason I got the iPhone 14 Pro Max. There's too many phones. The 4 is ridiculous. And I think Apple's already learned this lesson, but for some strange reason, they refuse to change their mind on this. They need a regular size phone and a big size phone. I mean, already the mini failed. Let's be clear about this. The iPhone 12 and 13 mini failed. If it didn't fail, they would still be selling it because Apple likes money.
Now, it's still going to be made from the same materials, right? Aluminum and glass, although this time it's going to come in new pastel-looking colors, which include black, green, yellow, blue, and pink, and the colors you are seeing are renders from 9 to 5 Mac, but apparently they have exact leaks of the exact color specifications here, so these might actually be extremely accurate. Now, both the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus are going to be getting some upgrades, with Apple putting in...
This is what I'm talking about. 15, 15 Plus, 15 Pro, 15 Pro Max. This is just not a good user experience, and it's completely unnecessary. You don't need 4 versions of the phone. They're all going to sell in different quantities across everything, but I think by now, Apple has enough data to know how many phones they actually need to come out with. I can't imagine that anyone's looking at the numbers going, yep, all 4 of them sell just as well as each other. We know that's not true. There's articles everywhere about this.
Bigger batteries into the 15 series overall, and bringing over the A16 chip from last year's 14 Pro over to the 15, and also, most importantly, the new 48 megapixel camera system. Now, what intrigues me about this is the iPhone 15 is still just going to have 2 camera lenses with the wide angle and the ultra wide angle lens. However, because it is bringing over the 48 megapixel camera system, it's going to get an important upgrade to the iPhone 15 series because those models lacked a dedicated zoom lens. So with that 48 megapixel sensor, you are getting Apple's new 2x mode, which they brought over to the 14 Pro last year, and that is actually going to allow you to get a 2x zoomed photo by cropping in on that very detailed 48 megapixel sensor.
I love Greg, but I completely just zoned out during that entire thing. Obviously, I am no longer the tech tuber that I once was. I can't listen to any of that and be even mildly interested. I think at the end of the day, you're going to show someone who's trying to buy this in the store and they're going to say, yeah, does it take better pictures? Yes. Okay, let me buy it. That's it. That's the answer. Is my Instagram going to look better? Probably not, because it's still going to be compressed to hell, but it's new. So buy it. Meh.
Now, the iPhone 15 is also going to be switching over from the Lightning port to the USB-C port. This is the same port found on so many Android phones. It's found on the iPads now, your MacBook, and basically every other modern mobile electronic device. For some, USB-C is going to be a painless transition because of that, but for others though, especially if you have been using a lot of iPhones for the past 10 years and you racked up a ton of lightning cables and special accessories, the switch over to USB-C could be a little annoying.
I've been saying this for a while now. I mean, it's great for us tech nerds. We're going to love having only one cable for all the things. But imagine yourself, you're just a normal consumer. You look at your phone as a tool like most people in the world do. And it's time for your upgrade. Your phone is cracked. It's messed up. Battery isn't holding charge. You've had maybe the iPhone 10 for many years. And you're like, it's time to upgrade. You come in there and they're like, yeah, none of your cables work now. I feel like the next question is, do you have one where all my cables will work? Oh, sure, we have last year's model or whatever Apple will retain from the previous generations. Oh, okay, let me have that. And it's cheaper too, and I get to keep my cables? Okay, I'll have that, please. That conversation is going to happen time and time and time again across the country, maybe even around the world. It's definitely something that needs to happen. USB-C absolutely needs to happen. Super happy about it. I'll be able to use less cables myself, but I'm just saying, I think that's also going to make the uptake of iPhone 15s a little bit slower than normal. And again, with 4 different phones, and you go in there and you ask an Apple expert, or you go to your normal phone carrier and you ask, like, what's the difference? What's the person in the store going to tell Johnny come lately and says, hey, I want the new iPhone? What's the difference between these 4 phones? Why is there 4 iPhones? And both pairs look exactly the same, except for one has 3 lenses and one has 2. Oh, that's the difference. Oh, and one's like $200 cheaper? Give me that one.
Hopefully it's not as painful of a transition as it was from 30-pin to Lightning, for all the old people that remember that. Old people. Still sticking around, aren't you?
Fuck you, Greg.
Pricing, the iPhone 15 is still going to come in at the same $799 starting price for 128 gigabytes of storage, with the bigger 6.7-inch iPhone 15 Plus being $100 more expensive at $899. Besides screen sizes, like last year, features on both models should be exactly the same, except, I guess, because the iPhone 15 Plus is bigger, it will have better battery life than the smaller model.
Look at this. iPhone 14 Plus sales are too small for Apple, but it's not the mini size dud. Now remember, mini, like I said, pretty much failed. They don't even sell those anymore, so obviously it was a failure. The 14 series overall is only selling 2% more than the 13 series. So weirdly, the iPhone 14 is down 36% over the 13. The 14 Plus is up quite a bit from the Mini, but you remember the Mini was a failure, so this is probably just in line with whatever. And of course, the Pro and the Max are just up all around because those are the phones to get. It's interesting. I feel like you will see an iPhone 15 failure. It's going to be one of the base models, either the 6.1 inch or the larger Plus variant. One of those two is going to fail. They're just not going to sell well. But again, an Apple failure is like a huge success from most Android manufacturers. So it's not really saying a lot other than the fact that they're just not going to make as much money. Cry me a river.
The iPhone 15 Pro will be a much bigger upgrade over the 14 Pro and sport numerous changes to the way the iPhone looks as well as how it functions. Like the regular iPhone 15, the iPhone 15 Pro is of course going to come in 2 sizes, a 6.1-inch size and a 6.7-inch size, just like last year for the Pro Max model. However, unlike last year, where the iPhone 14 Pro had stainless steel sides, the iPhone 15 Pro is moving over to a new titanium finish.
I know you're going to ask me my thoughts on this. I really don't care. I'm putting a case on it.
Now, the iPhone 15 Pro will also be getting an exclusive chip upgrade this year to the A17 chip, and I am personally excited about this. I know we say phones, they're so fast at this point, who cares? But this is going to be the first 3nm smartphone chip, which will give the Pro model a significant speed boost over the normal iPhone 15, and it will also be a more efficient chip, which could lead to better thermal management, meaning your phone won't get as hot when you're using it, and better battery life, especially if it's coupled together with physical bigger battery capacity.
Of all the things Greg just said, the only thing that matters is the battery life. Processor speed does not matter. Your Instagram is not coming up any faster, and your DMs will not be any less creepy.
Apparently, Apple is sticking with a 3x zoom lens on the 6.1-inch size iPhone 15 Pro, while the iPhone 15 Pro Max will be getting an enhanced 6x periscoping zoom lens. And it's been a while since Apple gave the bigger size iPhone exclusive camera features, but apparently this year, they are bringing that difference back.
Now, to be clear, I'm glad it's getting a better zoom. I don't necessarily always need zoom, but the current iPhone 14 Pro Max zoom is kind of pathetic. But 6 seems kind of small. That doesn't seem very impressive. Like, give me 10 minimum for optical zoom. I'm a little underwhelmed by this, but of course, Apple doesn't really care about hitting the best and top specs. They just want what works best for their system. So I guess I'm not terribly surprised, but I am kind of disappointed.
Another feature that could be exclusive to the Pro model this year is a new action button replacing the mute button. Now, this action button will work similarly to how it does on the Apple Watch Ultra, letting users map quick commands to it like opening up a specific app with a press or having it turn on things like a timer or maybe even your flashlight.
How about just letting us use the old button to what it used to do, is turn off the damn phone instead of having to do this? Or let us just map that button. We don't want Siri. Why are you making us use Siri when we hold that button down?
Let's talk about the pricing for the iPhone 15 lineup. So unlike the normal 15 series, which is rumored to keep the same pricing, the iPhone 15 Pro is getting a price increase this year, probably due to the more expensive titanium material. So the iPhone 15 Pro is moving up $100 in price from $999 to $1,099, and the Pro Max is moving from $1,099 to, you guessed it, $1,199, thus making it the most expensive iPhone ever.
Don't we hear this every year? I feel like we hear this every year. Maybe it's true this time. I don't know. But we seem to hear this every year. And if it is true, man, $1,200 plus tax, bro. I might got to sit this one out.
However, both models are rumored to start at higher storage tiers of 256 gigabytes.
Okay, 256 gig, finally. Are we there? If that's a thing, then yes. Please. But again, if I'm Apple, you know that the extra storage isn't going to cost that much. If they knew the price is going to go up, it's actually a smart move to give a higher base storage for that additional cost. Again, I think also if it really is going up $100, they better give me a hell of a trade-in value for my 14 Pro Max. That's the one thing that will save me from actually potentially either getting it or not getting it. If the trade-in value is not good, I'm just not going to get one. If the trade-in value is decent and I only have to pay, $500-$600, maybe. But really, it's all about trade-in value. You're charging us so much, Apple. It's just so much.
For Apple, at least, it may better help separate the iPhone 15 lineup in general, with most users last year opting for the Pro model phones because of the smaller $100 price gap between the iPhone 15 Plus and the iPhone 15 Pro. This lineup would help separate the normal iPhones and let them stand out a little bit more compared to the Pro phones, and it could lead to better sales on the normal series. However, that may not be the case because analysts are predicting that the iPhone 15 Pro will outsell the iPhone 15 yet again, and the Pro Max will apparently end up being the most popular model.
I just kind of showed that was the case last time, so I wouldn't necessarily be a surprise. I think some of the 15s are not going to sell as well. And again, not everyone needs to. Apple's done themselves a disservice by making great phones over the last 3 or 4 years. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be doing the Amazon Renewed Series video about the iPhone 12 here pretty soon. So make sure you're subscribed so you can catch that when it drops. It's hard to make anyone want to move, especially with the 13 series and on being so good. So thanks, Greg, for doing the hard work. I didn't want to do all that. I think at the end of the day, I look at this as a possibility for me getting it only if I get a great trade-in value for my phone and or the price isn't as bad as what Greg just said. But what do you guys think? Are you going to get an iPhone 15, 15 Pro, 15 Deluxe, 15 Ultra, 15 Ultra Super Pro Max? But why, Apple? But why? I just feel like with all these different options, one or more is going to fail. If you disagree, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Do I have to watch more Greg videos? Is this going to be a thing?